John Deacon wrote some of Queen's biggest hits. Another one bites the dust. I Want to Break Free. You're My Best Friend. After Freddie Mercury died, he helped finish one last album. Then he walked away from music entirely and never came back. He has not given a single interview since 1997. Nobody knows why. In any other band, John Deacon would have been the star. He was a gifted bassist, a natural songwriter, and the quiet architectural force behind some of Queen's most commercially successful material. But Queen was not any other band. It had Freddie Mercury. And in that context, John Deacon operated almost invisibly, which by all accounts suited him perfectly. He gave few interviews. He avoided the spotlight. He wrote the songs, played the parts, and let the others do the talking. Brian May once described him as the member of Queen who was most difficult to read, not because he was cold, but because he... The scale of John Deacon's contribution to Queen is easy to underestimate because he never drew attention to it. Another One Bites the Dust, one of the best-selling singles in the band's history, was his. You're My Best Friend. The song, Freddie once said, captured something essential about his friendship with Mary Austin, was his. I Want to Break Free, with its iconic video, was his. He wrote for Freddie. He wrote things that fit Freddie's voice, Freddie's personality, Freddie's sense of humor and drama. The two had a musical understanding that the other band members have spoken about as something almost instinctive. Deacon would write something, Freddie Mercury died on November 24, 1991. He was 45 years old. The three remaining members of Queen each responded differently. Brian May has spoken extensively over the years about the grief, the disorientation, the long process of rebuilding a sense of purpose. Roger Taylor continued performing, continued recording, maintained a public presence. John Deacon went quiet, not immediately, not all at once. But a process began on that day that would end 6 years later. In April 1992, 5 months after Freddie's death, Queen organized a tribute concert at Wembley Stadium. The remaining 3 members performed alongside a rotating roster of guest vocalists: George Michael, David Bowie, Elton John, Annie Lennox among them. John Deacon was there. He played. By accounts of those present, he was subdued, present physically, but visibly somewhere else. Between 1994 and 1995, John Deacon entered the studio one final time to help complete Made in Heaven, the album built from Freddie's last recordings. The work involved taking vocal fragments and unfinished tracks and shaping them into complete songs. It was, by every account, an emotionally grueling process. The band was essentially reconstructing the voice of someone who was gone, making decisions about what he would have wanted, finishing sentences he had started. Made in Heaven was released in November 1995. It reached number 1. John Deacon gave a In 1997, John Deacon officially announced his retirement from Queen. He was 45 years old, the same age Freddie had been when he died. The statement was brief. He said he felt the band could not continue without Freddie and that he had no desire to be part of what came next. Brian May and Roger Taylor eventually did continue, first with Paul Rodgers, later with Adam Lambert. Deacon was not involved in either project. What followed John Deacon's retirement was not a quieter public life. It was no public life at all. He stopped giving interviews. He stopped attending industry events. He stopped appearing at Queen-related anniversaries and celebrations. When Bohemian Rhapsody, the 2018 film about the band, was released to enormous commercial success, John Deacon was not present at the premiere. He had no public comment. Brian May and Roger Taylor have both acknowledged in separate interviews that they remain in contact with him. They have been careful about what they say. The consistent message has been that he is well, because John Deacon has said nothing. Others have tried to fill the silence. The most commonly discussed explanation is grief, that losing Freddie was a loss he simply could not move past in a musical context. That, for him, Queen without Freddie was not Queen, and continuing would have meant pretending otherwise. Others have pointed to a broader withdrawal from public life that seems to go beyond music. A man who found in his 50s that he preferred a private existence and chose it completely, Brian May has gently pushed back on the idea that something is wrong. He has described Deacon as a man who made a deliberate choice and is living contentedly with it. Whether that is true, or whether it is the loyal the contrast with his two surviving bandmates is striking. Brian May has remained one of the most visible figures in rock music, recording, touring, speaking publicly about Queen's legacy, and advocating for causes he cares about. Roger Taylor has maintained an active presence as well, recording solo material and touring with Queen plus Adam Lambert. John Deacon has done none of these things. He lives in London. He has 6 children. Beyond that, almost nothing is publicly known about his daily life. He is one of the most successful songwriters in the history of rock. Since 2012, Brian May and Roger Taylor have toured extensively with Adam Lambert as lead vocalist. The shows have been successful by every commercial measure. Lambert himself has spoken warmly about the responsibility of performing Freddie's songs. John Deacon has not attended any of these shows publicly. He has not commented on them. When asked, Brian May has said Deacon is aware of what they're doing and has no objection, but that he prefers to stay away. What he thinks privately about 2 of his oldest friends continuing to perform as Queen without either him or John Deacon has now been retired from music for nearly 3 decades. The songs he wrote are still played in stadiums around the world. Another, One Bites the Dust, still opens sporting events. I Want to Break Free still appears in films and television. You're My Best Friend still makes people feel something specific and immediate. He wrote those songs. He has chosen not to be associated with them publicly. He has chosen, as completely as a person can choose, to step back from everything that came with them. Whether that is grief or wisdom or simply a preference, he hasn't said. He may never say. And in a world where everyone eventually